Hey everyone, it's turbo time. Time for another unboxing. As promised, we're going to be unboxing the Mayflash arcade fighting stick F300. This one is a revision 1.1, which is different from the others I've seen out there so far. It's compatible with the PlayStation 4, PS3, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PC, and weirdly enough, Android. Although it is wired, so I'm guessing you need some kind of on-the-go connector to use it with Android. This is what we've got. The only thing I've done is cover up my shipping details. This is how it comes shipped, a little sticker on the front of the box. Difficult to peel off, so I just left it there. So, looking nice. Just out of interest, thanks Mr. Amazon guy, you delivered it to a number very, very low, let's say number 2 or 3. And my number is number, let's say, above 70. So I had to go for a walk in order to collect this. You didn't even try to deliver it to my house. Thank you very much. So here it is. It's what it looks like. Relatively modest packaging. Obviously manufactured in China, this one. But it's one of the best arcade sticks if you want to modify it and put some good parts in there. You can replace it with all standard parts, and we'll get onto that later. So first of all, I'm going to turn it round and open the lid. And as I do so, I'll just get rid of the cover there. So this is what it looks like inside. I have opened it once before, but I've tried to put it back in there. It looks as if it may have been, didn't come with kind of in plastic sheeting or bags. It was very, very loosely packaged like this, but albeit it's in one piece, good condition. So let's see what's in the box. So the first thing you'll notice is it came with a lead, which was wrapped with one of those little cable ties. Just a standard USB to, I think that's a micro USB there, but it's what your joypad, PlayStation 4, Xbox One pad would plug into. So I'll just put that to one side. Next up is the actual stick itself, which looks something like that. It comes with a little cable tidy which stays on the cable permanently, so you can easily keep track of the cable. And it also came with a very, very thin single sheet folded instruction guide, which is available on Amazon and elsewhere, but that's all that's in the box. But then again, what more do you want? It was £50 or just under, and it works with all of those devices I said earlier: PS4, PS3, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PC via USB, and Android. And more importantly, guys, this is revision 1.1. I haven't seen one of these before, so let's have a look at what the differences are between this one and the one that I thought I ordered. And by the way, this is slightly better than the one I thought I ordered, so there we go. So here we go, we've got some kind of polystyrene or plasticky cushioning around it to stop it from getting knocked about in the box. It's a relatively hefty unit. Not as heavy as some of the devices that I've used during retro night for, say, the Dreamcast, Saturn, but it's nice, it's good, relatively heavy. So the first thing I want to point out to you about this device is the difference between this one and the previous model. So this is the version with micro switches, apparently in these buttons too. Various options here at the top for kind of connecting to different devices. So for a games console, you just keep this on the center one. But the difference is, on this F300, that this is revision 1.1. And it says 1.1 on this little sticker down here, but the previous revision had a USB socket here. And the USB socket was used to plug your joypad in. So if you wanted to use it on an Xbox One, or if you wanted to use it on a PlayStation 4, you'd plug this in there and then plug this into your pad, and it acted as some kind of pass-through. So although it's not directly compatible, if you plug it in via its main USB cable into your console. It is compatible if you use a pad. Tested with Xbox One and PlayStation 4 at this stage, and PC. PC just directly plugs in, but the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 definitely need to have a pad connected to this unit. Now, so where has the USB gone then? Well, I never really thought it was any good at the front, because it meant when you were playing it, you had the cable coming out and maybe a joypad around here. Even if you put the lead out the side, you still had this lead in the front, which wasn't very attractive. So what they've done is moved the USB socket for plugging in your pad around the back, which is a really, really good design improvement. It didn't affect my decision with it being around the front, but now that it's here and I've tested it and I've plugged in the cable and then plugged this into the console, I think it's great having it round the back, because it means you've got a nice clean area at the front with no cables plugged in that you can use to kind of play your shmup or your beat 'em up. So it's really nice, really good. So that's the main difference between the one I ordered and this 1.1, which is what arrived. And all I can say is if you do get a chance, from a non-technical standpoint, this is more aesthetically pleasing, because there's no cables needed to be plugged in around the front or sides. So that looks absolutely excellent. How else does it differ? Well, I just purchased an Xbox One S, so I've got the new white Bluetooth Microsoft pad, which looks something like this. I did trade in my old Xbox, but luckily enough I have got one of the other pads around. Now, the first thing to notice is I'm showing this for a reason. The reason is because if you plug this pad in, it doesn't work. You need to use one of the older pads that isn't Bluetooth, or at least isn't this pad. I have two of these, I've tried them both, and none of them worked with the Xbox One. It had to be plugged in to one of these, one of the older pads. And I'm guessing it's because there's a change in software, or there's a change in slight tweak in the hardware. Of course there is, because that's Bluetooth, but there must have been something that changed, which meant that it could only work with these old pads. So make sure you either get one of these or you keep hold of one of these if you're getting a new Xbox One. So it would work something like this. You plug your pad in there, and then that would go into your Xbox. If you were using a PS4, obviously don't use an Xbox pad, use a PlayStation 4 pad, and that should work fine. So that's how it works. It sounds great, it feels great. What we're going to do next is we're going to take a look inside this unit, because it's been made specifically for customization. So what I'm talking about there is the cheaper parts that have been used to keep the price low, because obviously under £50 is quite a bargain for something like this. While the joystick feels okay, the buttons don't have that nice clicky noise that you'd get with micro switches. Now, I'm not sure whether or not they're ever going to get that, but I know that there's some parts that are made by a company called Sanwa, and these Sanwa parts are apparently the kind of arcade standard for quality buttons. So I've already done what various people did on the internet, and that is order some of those. The inside of it does look almost identical to the previous model, albeit they've moved the USB socket, so obviously that's going to look a bit different. But this is just an excellent pad. I played some Street Fighter on it last night. I played some King of Fighters. Obviously that's PlayStation 4 I used. I also then jumped onto Mortal Kombat on the Xbox One, and it worked flawless on there, and that was really good. So I'm really pleased with it. I think it's a solid bit of kit, nice and chunky, nice and heavy. It's got some grippy feet, so as you can see, even on this mat, it's not going anywhere. You know, if you put it down on a wooden table, it will stay put. So that looks absolutely fantastic. So what we've got is we've got the stick, 4 directions. It's a square gate, I think they're called inside. with rounded corners. It feels okay. You can just about feel the gate as you move it around. It's got the 8 face buttons, labelled clearly both for Xbox and PlayStation. It's got a start options menu. Basically that's the start button on your PlayStation, or the menu button on the Xbox. But it's also got some additional controls here, additional buttons. You've got the home, which I believe is the Xbox button, which funnily enough I don't think it worked when I hit it. You've got the select or the share, again Xbox and PlayStation, and you've got the turbo, where to use it you press it and then press a button and it activates turbo for that. There's 2 different types of turbo, I assume slow and fast, because this LED here flickers on and off when you hold the button down, and if it's on 1 it tends to flicker on and off slower than if you put 2 and then activate a turbo. So there you go, it is turbo time. You're watching the unboxing, and hopefully the next thing we'll do is open this up. I could pause and edit this, but it's probably easier if I just go ahead and open it up right in front of you now. The last things over here you should know before we go on to that is that you've got the XY, so it behaves more like an analog input, albeit the extremes of analog. Or you can change it to D-pad. So if your game uses the analog stick, you use XY. If it uses the D-pad, then switch it to D-pad. You just have, it's great because you've got that flexibility, but you just got to remember when you're using it that there are options out there. The final one is the kind of switch that changes the compatibility. So the gaming kind of position in the middle here is what you'd use for the PlayStation and your Xbox. I think that probably goes for the PS3 and the Xbox 360 as well. But then you've got X input and D input. I can see here it actually says PS3 at the bottom, so you'll switch it down if you're using the PS3. So it all looks quite nice. Unfortunately there's nowhere to store this inside. I know some of the more expensive units have a door that opens up and then you kind of bung the cable in. But this is alright, it's just kind of attached on the back there. Quite nice, I like it. So next stage, on the back we have some rubber, they're only about 3mm thick, but they're rubber feet that's stuck on, and that's what stops it sliding around. You've got 4 of those. You've got some holes here with screws in by the look of it, which are maybe for feet, some kind of suction cups or something, and we've got 6 screws. So let's move along and see what happens when we take this apart. Hopefully I'll pick the right screwdriver to take this one out. Okay, so we've got 6 of these. Feel free to just go forward in the video for a minute or 2 if you don't want to wait. I'm not an entertainer or a comedian, so I'm not going to tell you any jokes. So most of the weight, if you're still watching, of course, most of the weight is actually in this base plate. So I guess if you didn't find it heavy enough, you'd be able to add some weight internally by means of either some magnets or maybe some actual lead weights inside, or an old Nokia phone, or use a brick. But as far as I'm aware, both of them are the same thing. So there we go. I've got all 6 out now. So about to take this off. So if you move forward, hopefully you'll see this. There we go. So what we've got is all the weight, realistically, or at least a fair chunk of it, is in this plate, which attaches to the bottom. And I'm guessing that you could position some weights in here to kind of keep the weight distribution even. Very good though. So that's the plate. What I noticed immediately was the position of the USB that was previously at the front, and the board would have been screwed onto this particular section here. Well, this still has some mounting points for screws, so I'm guessing they've kept the same case. But now the USB is up at the back here, So I'll just tilt it over for you so you can see the USBs up at the back. And they've mounted it on what looks to be, again, a mounting point. I'm not sure if it was there in the previous one. But yeah, it's nicely secured on there, and it's in place. So that's good. I'll hold it still so you can focus on what you might be interested in at this time. I know I was thinking, what were these things? But I guess these are just to keep the structural integrity of the unit. So when you're mashing down, at least it's pushing back against something. So these are just connected directly to the plastic to keep it sound when you're tapping very, very hard. Again, I'm not an expert on arcade sticks, but we can see a piece of circuit board here, ribbon connector. It's connecting it to this. This seems to be the main kind of piece of board in there. The PCB's got a few chips on it. All of the switches, all of the kind of buttons and micro switches and everything seem to be connected into that board. We've got another ribbon that comes off here, and it goes to another PCB, which is the one that had those turbo switches on there, and it's got some buttons on, so 3 switches, 3 buttons. So it does. It looks pretty much like all the other videos that I've seen on YouTube, with the exception that the USB's now been moved up here at the back of the machine. So that looks awesome. The parts inside, though, I've been assured are. Let's see if this comes off. There we go. So the parts inside are standard sized parts that you can replace with quality arcade parts, such as the Samuel parts I mentioned earlier. And as you can see, if you just pinch these, they do, pop out. So if I remove the connectors, there we go, 1, 2. It's the first time I've done this, but I guess I'll have to do it again when my replacement parts come. You can, you can see how easy it's going to be. Basically, you choose whatever colours you want with whatever surrounds you want. You customise the buttons exactly how you want, which is great. And then you basically just plug them in. So on the back, push it into place, it clicks in, and then of course just connect up the cables, and that would be it. That's one button replaced. You do the same with each button, making sure you remember which coloured cables are connected to which button. I think they're all different. Ooh, maybe there's a couple of reds in there. Yeah, a couple of yellows, a couple of blues, and a couple of greens. So I think it's going to be important maybe to replace one at a time, so that you make sure that you're not kind of making any issues with in terms of the button placement. So X doesn't work as Y, Y doesn't work as X, and so on and so forth. But it looks as if it's going to be relatively straightforward. The one thing I haven't looked at so far was this button. Actually, let me take the cables off first. This is a little bit more difficult. So this is the start button, and it's definitely a smaller size than the main 8 buttons on the arcade stick. I haven't sent for a replacement of this one because it's something that you're not really going to be mashing. But realistically, I think it's possible to maybe get a replacement part for this if you really wanted to, because you're not happy with black. But hey, black goes with everything, and it's the unit's black itself, so I saw no reason to replace this, as it's not really going to be in that much use. So again, that one pops in exactly the same way. I'm now starting to see there are little cutouts at the sides where the clips go, so you have to put it back in the same orientation and then connect it up as you would there. So that seems okay. It's back, it's in place. So they pop out there, so easy to replace. I guess you could say each one might take about 30 seconds. So 4 minutes, you've changed all 8 buttons. I've heard people say you can even change out the PCB for better quality boards, but I didn't see any lag when playing, so I can only assume that it does its job. If it breaks, maybe I'll consider replacing it. Just for those out there that may be overly interested in any technical details in here, on the board, on the PCB at the top here, it does say F300 and then version 0.1, 16-07-21. No idea if that's a good thing or not, but or even how it's changed in the previous ones. Also on the PCB, I can see that we have actual labels for where these cables should be connected to. So if you have disconnected them, you should be able to trace the cables back to the PCB and look, because it says RT, R2, RB, R1, LT, L2, so on and so forth, PS home. So I'm guessing that, wow, I really do think they've done a good job for people who want to customize the stick. It's very, very nice. I can't see any markings on the board at the top here with the turbo buttons on, but quite nice. I like it. So next up is this the actual stick itself, the directional stick. I don't want to take all these cables out because I don't think there's any real need to see this. But this stick is a single part that can be replaced as one, or you can buy all the individual components and replace just the bits you want. Just to keep things easy, I ordered a vermilion coloured stick. That's like a really bright red traditional knob on top there. Of course, it's just the little cover here that slides around. I thought I'd broken something then. So to change the stick, it simply looks like a case of taking out these white cables. Again, either be sure you remember where they are and connect them up to the new one, or unplug them all. And they are, I'd like to say they're labelled. Left, maybe, up. Yeah, I think they are. Left, up, down. I'm guessing there's a right printed on the board somewhere. But yeah, all in all, I think it's going to be a piece of cake. 4 screws. You undo the 4 screws. Again, have a look on some other YouTube videos for this. But undo the 4 screws, and then take the joystick out. Clearly, it's not all going to pull away, because you must have to replace this knob at the top, because that's not going to come through the hole. But yeah, it should be quite straightforward to do. But I mean, the original, the stick that comes with it it feels good. From what I've seen, it's not it's not much different to the kind of sandwich stick that you can buy, and it looks okay. Feels okay as well. Weight's okay. It's just, I guess, if you want to go up for red buttons and a red stick, then you have to do that. I personally have gone for primary colours, so I've kind of gone for the SNES or the Xbox colours. So I'm going to replace the A with the green, the X is going to be the blue, Y is going to be the yellow, and the red's going to be the B there. So they'll end up as the kind of Xbox colours in the same place as the Xbox, because that's my primary console. As for the R1 and L1, I've gone for black or grey, depending on how it looks, and then the other one's going to be black or grey, depending on what happens. So 2 black, 2 grey, and then the standard colours. That's pretty much it, I think. I actually had a question, so maybe I can answer it myself and not break this thing, but I wondered if you could change the faceplate on here, because I heard somebody say it's about the size of an A4 sheet of paper. I'm not having an A4 sheet of paper around. I can't verify that, but yeah, it does seem to fit within that kind of size. But I don't think, no, there doesn't seem to be a way to push that off. It seems to be stuck on top. So I'm looking inside now to see if there's any place that I can put my thumb and push it out. I know in one of the videos that I saw of the very old revision of this with black buttons, that somebody pushed the faceplate off, but it doesn't seem like you can do that with this one. But hey, you know, it's black. Yeah, it's got the Mayflash arcade Fightstick F300 written there and the Mayflash logo, but you know, it looks okay. It looks okay, and I'm sure if you really want to go to the trouble of replacing this, you could possibly do it. It would appear that you can get your finger under the edge. Yeah. If you ask me, it's stuck on. It's kind of some plastic and it's stuck on. But if you really wanted to do a full customization on this, I think you could. I think you could definitely do it. You'd have to pull this off. There'd be some glue or some sticky adhesive underneath. But you could pull it all off and then use it as a template to create a new one. And when you've got all the buttons out, you could then obviously stick it on there and make it look nice and neat and clean up the edges. But yeah, I'm going to stick with the black, I think. I think it looks quite good. So that covers, I think, just about everything. If you do have any questions and I've missed it out, then I'm happy to answer them. But I can't think of anything else. Maybe what I'll do is when I've replaced all the buttons in the stick, I'll post another video of what it looks like, but that should only be a quick one. And I shouldn't be rambling too much, which is always a good thing. Yeah, that's about it, I think. So I'm gonna put this back together, see if there's any unexpected issues when I do. So just get that the right way round, because there is a flat edge which is going to go flush to the bottom of the unit. Sits in there quite nice. Obviously get this one on the right way. In fact, it's very difficult to know which way is the right way. It seems to be fairly symmetrical. Oh, okay, let's just assume this one. Yeah, let's assume that this is it. I did say earlier on that you might be able to put some weights in here. There's plenty of space down here, maybe in the four corners. You obviously want to keep them away from the PCBs in case they come loose, or maybe, you know, wrap them in some kind of plastic and try and stick them down in place. But there's definitely scope for improving the weight of this unit if you want to do that. But yeah, I wouldn't really want to. It's plenty heavy enough. It's not going anywhere. I guess if you want to use it on your lap and you really like to have something weighty on there, you could ask your girlfriend to sit on it. But not saying my girlfriend or wife is heavy, just that some people like a heavier stick, and I can appreciate that if it's on your lap and you like to kind of have it close and play with it. So yeah, looking good. Again, feel free to fast forward through this. Yeah, fairly straightforward. All the screws are the same length, and they're just a standard crosshead head. Yeah. Again, I'm not sure about sticking this on YouTube, but it should be fairly easy. I've done it before. Let's hope I can get more than 10 hits for this video. But then again, why would I care? As long as people who need to know about this find out what they need, then that's the main thing. Popularity has never been my concern. Okay. So all in all, great unit. Doesn't seem to work with the new Xbox pads that are Bluetooth enabled, so please keep hold of one of your original Xbox pads, black or just not Bluetooth. That's it altogether. So what we have here is the Mayflash Arcade Fightstick F300 revision 1.1 unboxing, and that's pretty much what comes in there. So So I'd just like to thank everyone for watching. I hope you've got the information you need to make an informed purchase. I got this from Amazon for less than £50. It does exactly what I want. It's going to come in really good for kind of games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters. I used it on MAME last night and it really worked very, very well. I can't remember the game that I played, but it was a really good shmup from the Neo Geo. But fantastic product. Please buy one. They're excellent. Thank you.